This is Mackin Storyteller Spotlight. We're so happy to have you here. We are super excited to have Nic Stone with us today, who's going to read from Dear Manny, her new book, and answer your questions. So even if you didn't prepare questions in advance, that's fine. You can come up with them on the fly and put them in the Q&A. Very special thanks to Penguin Random House for helping us set this up today. They've also donated 5 sets of books for your classroom. So if you are joining us live, we are going to have 5 winners that we pull from the classrooms that are here, and you'll get a set of Nic's books. As a reminder, if you're new here, we use the Q&A for the Q&A. So you can put whatever you want in the chat. I will take that entire chat and give it to Nic at the end of this program, but I'm going to be looking at the Q&A for the questions that I read aloud. So put those in there. Okay, I want to talk as loud as I can because we just had someone say the volume's not too high, so I'll talk louder. Okay, the Q&A button is where you put the questions. If you're watching with young people and you can get a snap for social media, we would love to be tagged in it because we love to see it. Next, in a couple weeks, we're having Kimberly Brubaker Bradley join us. So send this to your teacher friends whose classes might be interested in this, March 26th at 1 o'clock Central Time. Sign up for that on Mackin.com. And now let me introduce Nic. Nic Stone was born and raised in a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia, and the only thing she loves more than an adventure is a good story about one. After graduating from Spelman College, she worked extensively in teen mentoring and lived abroad for a few years before returning to the US to write full-time. Growing up with a wide range of cultures, religions, and backgrounds, Stone strives to bring these diverse voices and stories to her work. Welcome, Nic. Here she is.
Yay! Yes, hopefully the technology is kind to us today. Before I even start, I want to shout out Macy in DeSoto, at DeSoto in Missouri. I had the pleasure of meeting her the other night, and I know her class is in here. So just say hi, Macy. Hey, DeSoto. Hope y'all are doing well. Yeah, so last Tuesday, I had a new book come out called Dear Manny. It is the 3rd book in the Dear Martin series, which I didn't know it was going to be a series, if I'm being honest. So first book came out, second book was a request for some readers, and the 3rd book is honestly a bit of a social experiment. But I will read the bulk of the first chapter just so you can get a feel for it. Here we go. Chapter 1, We the People. Jared Peter Christensen is questioning his life choices. Again, you'd think the guy would learn, considering how many idiotic binds he's gotten himself into over the years, but apparently not. Granted, the thing he's gotten himself into this time isn't stupid, necessarily, just not super well thought out. That's the reality smacking him upside the head as he sits in an exceedingly boring meeting he decided to attend a mere 7 minutes before it started, which then involved a sprint across campus that left him out of breath and extra conspicuous when he came in 4 minutes late. He reads the slide currently on the screen behind the head of the sitting UCC president, a pretty Korean American girl named Ari Park, who is droning on at the podium. Undergraduate College Council mission statement: to accurately represent the voices, perspectives, and concerns of all undergraduates while protecting their rights and freedoms. His eyes drift to the door, but of course he can't walk out early after walking in late. He also put his name on that dang list, which, as Dad would say, means that he has officially committed himself to this path. Your name in your handwriting is a declaration that you will see something through, Bill Christensen said to 6-year-old Jared when he made him sign his first contract. It bound Jared to a set of chores in exchange for the funds that went into a 529 college savings plan. Jared sighs and shakes his head. The regret is too real. How did he even get here? The slide changes to an overdone graphic listing the college policy changes the Undergraduate College Council has enacted since its founding. It's really his constitutional law professor, Dr. Ye's fault. Just before dismissing class earlier, she made it a point to announce that the UCC would be holding its first meeting for class officer election. And she looked right at Jared when she said it. He could swear she was challenging him, especially since the look came on the heels of a class discussion about the current state of democracy, one that may have gotten a little heated at the end. Jared hadn't really meant to go off, as one of his Black classmates put it, but he also couldn't sit there in silence as the guy who became his nemesis on the first day of class, a jerk and a half, blue-blooded Florida boy, his words, named John Preston LaPlante IV, acted like he wrote the Constitution and could change it at will. The whole exchange seared itself into Jared's memory. John Preston: "You guys are so stuck on some perceived threat to voting rights, you're missing the forest for the trees. The truest threat to our republic is getting so far away from the values this country was founded on, the nation itself becomes unrecognizable." Imani: "And what are those values, John Preston?" Imani Williams is one of 3 Black students in the class. Living with an African-American roommate who survived both a wrongful arrest and a police shooting their senior year of high school makes it impossible for Jared not to notice these things. John Preston: "That question just proves my point. Only a person with zero concept of what it means to be American would ask that." Imani: "Me asking you to clarify your assertion with specific examples means I have zero concept of what it means to be American?" John Preston: "I'm just saying that if you knew, you wouldn't have to ask. As such, that question isn't worthy of an answer." Jared, officially furious: "Dude, you deciding someone's very valid question isn't worthy of an answer is precisely the opposite of civility and open-mindedness, both of which were American values at some point. I know we're talking about the Constitution, but if you read the Declaration of Independence, the bulk of the colonists' gripes with the king came from him having an attitude like yours." Imani: "Go off then, Jared." In the moment, her approval made Jared's heart grow 3 sizes, a la the Grinch. He had to resist thanking her out loud, and he knows he turned very red. But then Dr. Ye made her little election interest meeting announcement, and she'd eyeballed the crap out of Jared as she said the words, "Junior Class Council President." He tried to let it go. He really did. Shoved it out of his mind, went to his other 2 classes, and even popped by the frat house. But the moment he was alone in his apartment, all Jared could think about was Dr. Ye's eagle-eyed stare. A door opens behind him, and Jared fights the urge to look over his shoulder as Ari goes on to her next slide. Another overdone graphic lifting the SLOs, student-led organizations, the UCC works with. Man, what is he doing here? The screen goes dark, thank God, and the lights in the room brighten as Ari asks if there are any questions. Jared's tempted to raise his hand just to make it seem like he was paying attention. Christensen's commit once they're committed. But then a girl in the first row shoots her arm into the air with the velocity of a UFC punch, and someone slides into the folding seat to the left of Jared. "Hi," the girl says with far too much enthusiasm. "I'm a rising sophomore, and I intend to seek election for SoCo president. Just wondering if you could give us a brief intro to the history of the UCC and its structure." "Well, the organization was founded in 1972. Ari begins with resignation in her voice. "But as we're short on time, we'll save our discussion of structure for the orientation meeting. Your attendance will be mandatory since you intend to run for an elected office. Also, that information is online," comes a low, disgruntled reply from Jared's left, "meaning these mandatory meetings are unnecessary and we could all be doing more productive things with our time." At the sound of that voice, very bag of nails in a blender, Jared's stomach drops. He turns. Beside him is the last person on earth he'd want to see at a UCC information meeting, John Preston LaPlante IV.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, we've got lots of good questions coming in. Here's the first one. Did you have debates like this in college classes?
Um, Not so much in college classes. I was a debater in middle school. It was a very, very different. Debate was very different when I was in middle school and high school. Now it's kind of like rapid fire, it just moves a little differently. But no, there really wasn't space. In college, maybe, but I also went to like an all black girl school, so it's a completely different atmosphere. These conversations mirror some of the ones in Dear Martin, largely because I wanted to kind of set up a similar plot beat scenario. And it's fun writing about teenagers arguing with each other.
Theo wants to know what made you want to be an author in the beginning.
Yeah, so I decided to become an author largely because growing up, I did not get to see books by or about people who looked like me. Once I started having my own kids, it was important to me to make sure that they had things that they could read that had them in it. So after reading, I read the Divergent trilogy when I was like 27, 28. And after at long last encountering a character that I actually felt like I could identify with, I decided I was going to start trying. I was going to try to write my own books. And thankfully it worked out. And I am living the dream, friends. I'm currently in Portland on book tour, actually.
Waylon wants to know where you grew up
Mhm.
and tell us a little bit about what you were like as a kid or a teenager.
Oh, this is a great question. Thank you, Waylon. I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. When we were in fifth grade, my mom moved us to the suburbs, to a little city called Peachtree Corners. So I went to Peachtree Elementary School, Pinckneyville Middle School, and Norcross High School. Those were my three schools that I went to. And as a kid, I like to tell people that I was a reader. Like I like to read a lot of books. And this is up until about 13. I was a reader and I was a liar. I liked to lie just to see if I could get away with it. And essentially, that's what a storyteller is. The person who really loves story, engages with story, and is able to tell story, aka lie, convincingly. And yeah, then in high school, I was like the leader of this and the class president of that and head cheerleader, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But like always very out front and in the mix. The best, let's see, odd one out. There's a character named Jupiter Sanchez. She is the most like me. Her and then Shelby Augustine from Chaos Theory. If you mush those two characters together, you will get what I was like in middle and high school. Really more high school, what I was like in high school.
Thorn Middle School wants to know if the names of your characters have meaning behind them or where you get the names.
Definitely. I mean, with Justice, that was a very overt play on words. So you had a kid in a book named Justice who is trying to figure out what it means to seek justice, to experience justice. And then in Dear Justice, you have a kid in locked up writing to Justice the character, but also essentially writing to Justice the concept. Um, but a lot of the time with characters and character names, the name will just pop into my head, or it'll be somebody I know. For instance, in Fast Pitch, there's a character named Britt Marie who is quite literally, not only is a character named for my best friend, she pretty much is the epitome of my best friend at 12 years old. So sometimes I know with Odd One Out, I really wanted to name a character after a planet. So it just depends. Like sometimes the names pop into my head. Sometimes they're based on people I know, and frequently it's an artistic decision from the perspective of like figurative language and making very overt plays on words.
Jay wants to know what hair products you use.
Oh my gosh, there are so many. So look, I will tell you the key to success with curly hair is making sure your hair stays moisturized. You got to moisturize. So shampoo, conditioner, like I do a pre-treatment, a shampoo and a conditioner, all in the Olaplex family. You have to get it from Sephora. And then I finger coil my hair. So I put in three different leave-ins. They vary. And then like I take each strand you see, I like wrapped it around my finger so that it would boing and make a coil. And then I let it dry. I'm glad you like it. Very bouncy today.
Have you ever worked with another author or would you want to?
Oh yes. Frequently I have. I've been in a number of anthologies. I have written some books. I'm not going to say how many because you only know of a couple. With some friends, I've written 2 books so far with 5 friends. That's a lot of fun because it means I only have to write a sixth of the book. That's really great. And then I've adapted an adult book for young people, and that was fun too because that author, Dr. Ibram X. Kendi, is just like the nicest, smartest guy ever. And he's very smart and serious, and I'm very smart and silly. So it made for a really good experience. But I love writing with other people because it means I don't have to do as much work.
JCIB Middle School wants to know about your writing process. And
Mhm.
another student asked if you sit in front of the computer all day long writing.
Definitely not. That last question, I do not sit in front of my computer all day writing. Not every day. When I'm on deadline, absolutely. But even if I am on deadline and I'm in front of my computer for most of the day, I try to like move around and go different places. I do love writing on my couch and on my partner's couch. Those are very great places to write, but I also love writing in like coffee shops. My favorite place to write is on airplanes. So I get a lot done when I'm in the air. But no, typically I'm not because I can't. I need fresh air and stuff, right? Like I would lose it if I just sat on my computer all day. And then my writing process. So I use a mnemonic. Everybody here I think is at least middle school. So all of you should be familiar with PEMDAS, the math, the order of operations in math. That's called a mnemonic, right? So like you use it, it's a word or phrase that you use to remember a different word or phrase. So the mnemonic that I use for my writing process is I only eat raspberries. Um, the I is for inspiration, and that's when I get an idea for a project. It can come from anywhere. Sometimes they drop in my head like magic. Other times I'm driving down the street and I'll see something on the side of the road. Like I live in Atlanta, and there are places in Atlanta where like whole swaths of land have been eaten by this stuff called kudzu. And so I have like I'll be driving on the highway and see like a chimney sticking up out of kudzu. And I'm like, ooh, that house is haunted. And that can be a story idea. Once I have an idea, the inspiration piece, I move into what I call organization. I'm going to show you something special. One sec. So in the organization phase, I'm taking everything that comes to mind about that idea and I put it in its own composition notebook. So this is the composition notebook for a project I'm working on now. And so I can show you, I love that I can show you, it's great. So in this composition notebook, like this is my chapter outline, right? There are, sometimes I draw calendars. Sometimes there's like just list of plot points that I have to put in the book. There's just kind of an overarching, this is the structure. So once I have stuff in this notebook and once I've actually used the notebook to come up with both like a summary and or an outline, I move into execution, and that's when I write a draft of the book. And then once I finish executing, I take a couple days to breathe, and then I will hop into revision, which is my least favorite part, but unfortunately is also the most important. So inspiration, organization, execution, revision. I only eat raspberries.
Mrs. Hobbs' sixth grade class wants to know if you can talk about censorship and if any of your books have been banned. Yeah, boo.
That's how I feel about censorship. Yes, 4. I've had 4 so far. I'm sure more will get banned because, it's like once you write one banned book, the banners come for everything you've written. But Dear Martin, Odd One Out, Dear Justice, and How to Be a Young Anti-Racist are all books that have been banned in some place or another. Dear Martin gets banned quite a bit. The interesting thing to me about not only being banned, but the whole banning process is that, guys, it doesn't work. It's never worked. People have been banning books from for a really, really, really long time. So on the one hand, I'm just kind of like, cool, I'm on a list with Toni Morrison. And then on the other hand, I'm like, can you guys stop being dumb and banning books, please? Because for what? Um, the beauty of reading to me is that it's an opportunity to explore other perspectives and to seek out new information. So I do think censorship is stupid, frankly. And not only stupid, it's just very anti-constitutional. I'll put it like that. Um, and yes, there is something to be said for things being appropriate to the age level that they are aimed at, and also deciding what is and isn't appropriate. I don't think should be left to like a single parent in the thick of Missouri who wants everything that doesn't fit her ideology to be removed from schools. So it's a tricky space, but we're going to keep pushing through it.
Evie wants to know, which book did you find the hardest to finish writing, or do you ever find it hard to finish a book?
Um, to finish, specifically finish. I mean, I don't ever find it hard to finish books. It can be tricky to start books. Um, the hardest book to write overall was probably How to Be a Young Anti-Racist. And the reason for that is because I couldn't tell any lies. Like it's a nonfiction title. So everything that I put in that book had to be the truth and it had to be fact checked. And I didn't love that process because I like making things up and embellishing and making sure that what the thing that I'm creating is entertaining. So that was definitely the hardest to do overall. But like finishing's my favorite part of writing a book. It's the best part. The end. Wee.
Lakeview High School says your nails are cute and they want to see them. Mm-hmm.
So this one's my the rose is my favorite, but then there's snakes on my thumbs. Yeah. My nail artist, I'm a huge art fan. Like I'm an art aficionado, right? So like same thing with this tattoo. So this tattoo goes all the way up my arm. Um, and with this tattoo and with my nails, I just let the artist do their art because like I sit down and my nail artist does whatever she wants. And it's the same thing with this sleeve. This artist is in Hawaii. So I just go to Hawaii and I lay there and she makes my arm look cool.
If you weren't an author, what do you think you would be?
I would be a neuropsychologist.
Nice.
I was applying to grad school for neuropsychology when I got my first book agent, and then realized if I went the book route, I wouldn't have to go to school anymore. And so I chose the book route. But yeah, I would definitely be doing neuropsychology because it is just the coolest discipline to me. It's like a combination of human behavior and neuroscience. So, like how the brain is making you behave, basically, which is just so cool.
What do you like to read?
Good books. Genre is irrelevant. Length is irrelevant. Like, if it's a good book, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, my current read that I am enjoying more than anything in the world is a book about marketing and branding. Like, there's no fiction in it whatsoever. It's a book called Alchemy. The author is this guy named Rory Sutherland. He's this British marketing branding guru, and it's just fascinating information. And then another book I read recently that I was just obsessed with is it's a nonfiction title called The Science of Storytelling, and it's literally about how storytelling works in the brain. And so it's giving this like way of telling story that impacts the way our brains. So very neuropsychological, and it's a great book too.
Do you have, so this is from Zeno. Do you have any advice for building and writing characters?
Yes, Zeno, that is an excellent question. So I literally have a character template that I use to build out character. Hi, I can send you that template if you want to just like shoot it out to all the teachers
Hell
who
yeah, I can
signed
do
up for
that.
this event. So yeah, well, I will make sure that everybody who is here has access to my character template because I literally fill it out. It's got questions on there that you would never ever put in the story. But the aim of the character template is spending time getting to know your character so that no matter what situation you drop the character into, you will know what they will and won't do. The one thing that I will say for all of you aspiring storytellers out there, you gotta slow down a little bit, right? We live in a world where like everything is super fast and you want to just think super quickly, but like this sort of creative work doesn't necessarily work that way. So just be ready to like go a little slower, get to know your characters, spend some time messing up, right? Like when you're writing a book, when you're writing a story, when you're writing anything, an essay, like that first thing, that first draft you spill out is not your best work at all. Trust me, that also applies to me, right? So making sure you like budget out enough time to go back and read through and make sure you're saying what you want to say and not phoning things in. We need some good writers out here, and I know there are a lot of you watching this right now.
Lovejoy wants to know, how did going to an HBCU affect your writing?
Oh, I love this question. So going to an HBCU, it just affected my everything, right? So I went to Spelman College. I actually started out at Georgia Tech and I hated Georgia Tech. So I transferred to Spelman College. It's an all Black girls school in Atlanta. And it is where I figured out who I am, right? So it was like being in a greenhouse. I'm surrounded by people who look like me, who understand. We have like similar backgrounds, a lot of us. There are also a lot of vastly different backgrounds. But the beauty of going to that HBCU was I was surrounded by people who wanted me to succeed. And that's not necessarily true when you are a person of color in a predominantly white space, just being frank about it. So Spelman is where I discovered, I mean, it's where I discovered like Toni Morrison and Alice Walker and Zora Neale Hurston and all of these bastions of Black literature. And it's also where I figured out that it's okay for me to be who I am and where I learned how to lean into my own power. So it kind of gave me the confidence. It helped me to build the confidence I needed to pursue anything. And writing is just happens to be my favorite thing.
Okay, really quick, a
Mhm.
student from Secondary Success Program asked, have you ever been to Yellowstone?
I have not yet. So this is, I wear a lot of shirts that are aspirational in nature. So like I'll see a shirt and I'll want to go there. So I'll buy the shirt and wear the shirt so that as I'm trying to manifest going to Yellowstone, I want to go so bad. It's also a really cool shirt.
It
Just
is a cool shirt.
there's a bear on it.
Very cool. Okay, so we are just about done. I want to invite everyone to go over to the chat and say anything else you want to say to Nic. I'm going to take this whole chat and send it to her after this, so she'll have all your messages. Nic, is there anything you want to say to all the students watching today?
Listen, I just want to thank you all for coming. Thank you, educators, for bringing your students in. We are in interesting times, and the best thing that we can do for each other is learn about each other. So read and read and read and read and read.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We are done. Thank you so much, you guys. Those were really, really good questions. That made my job super easy. Nic, thank you for your time. We will have this recorded on Mackin.com so you can watch it again. Send me an email. I'll make sure that everybody gets that template from Nic for character
I will
development.
send that literally immediately as soon
Okay,
as I hang
yay.
up.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye, guys.